United States of America was preparing for another major attack on Iran. President Donald Trump says American forces were ready to carry out what he described as the biggest attack since World War II on 2nd of August. But that attack never happened. Trump called it off, saying Iran and several countries in West Asia had asked for more time to negotiate a deal. Now, US-Iran talks are expected on Monday, that is 3rd of August. At the center of those negotiations are two issues with consequences far beyond the region. Number one, Iran's nuclear program, and number two, the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. And markets have already started reacting. Oil prices fell by more than $4 a barrel after Trump held back from attacking Iran. So what changed? What kind of deal is being discussed? And has the US-Iran conflict actually reached a turning point? Hi, I'm Nupur and you're watching Control Z, your cheat code to navigating adulthood. Let's start with Trump's decision. See, late on Saturday, Trump announced that he was holding on another military attack. According to the US president, Iran and several countries in the region had requested more time to finalize what he called the parameters of a deal. Now, Trump said that agreement would have to achieve two things. First, the immediate, complete and total reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. And second, what Trump described as an end to Iran's nuclear threat. His message to Tehran was clear: negotiate quickly. But when Trump spoke again on Sunday, there was one significant change. He did not set a deadline for Iran to reach an agreement. Instead, he said talks would take place on Monday. And we now know that America's Gulf allies played an important role in persuading Donald Trump not to attack Iran. Trump said that Qatar, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates urged Washington to give diplomacy more time. Now, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was specifically mentioned by Donald Trump as one of the leaders whose views weighed heavily on his decision. Trump also said unnamed Iranian officials had sought more time. Now there are signs of intense diplomacy on the Iranian side as well. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has held discussions with his Saudi counterpart Prince Faisal bin Farhan and Pakistani Army Chief Asim Munir. Iranian state media has also reported that negotiations between Iran and Oman over the Strait of Hormuz are in their final stages. And that brings us to perhaps the most important part of this story: Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the world's most important energy corridors, which is why Donald Trump's decision had an almost immediate impact on oil markets. On Monday, Brent crude fell by more than $4 a barrel, or around 4.6%, to roughly $84 a barrel. US WTI crude also fell by almost 5% to around $81 a barrel. Now, when international crude prices rise sharply, India's oil import bill increases, and that can eventually feed into inflation, transport costs and pressure on the Indian rupee. So if diplomacy reduces tensions around Hormuz and allows shipping to return to normal, India could be among the economies that benefit. But there is an important caveat. The wider shipping crisis in the region has not disappeared. Traffic through Hormuz has slowed following reports of attacks on vessels. And there are problems on another crucial maritime route as well. The Iran-aligned Houthis declared a maritime embargo against Saudi Arabia on 20th July, extending attacks on shipping beyond the Gulf. Shipping data showed fewer commodity vessels passing through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait on Sunday compared with the previous 2 days. So reopening Hormuz alone would not remove every risk facing global trade. There is another factor behind Trump's decision: the limits of his military action. The United States has already conducted sustained operations in the region, and reports have pointed to growing pressure on some American military resources, particularly missile defense interceptors. Now, Donald Trump is also facing a political debate at home. Parts of his own America First coalition are increasingly questioning why United States should become more deeply involved in another West Asian conflict. Prominent conservative figures have criticized renewed military involvement, exposing a divide between those supporting a harder line against Iran and those who believe Trump's movement was elected partly on a promise to avoid prolonged foreign wars. And that leaves Donald Trump balancing three competing pressures: maintaining military pressure on Iran, keeping America's Gulf allies on side, and avoiding a wider conflict that could disrupt energy markets and become politically costly at home. For now, diplomacy has brought everyone more time. The American attack has been called off. Oil prices have fallen, and Washington says talks with Iran will take place on Monday. But there is no deal yet. Iran's nuclear program remains unresolved. The Strait of Hormuz has not yet fully returned to normal. So, after weeks of strikes, threats, and diplomatic maneuvering, the US-Iran confrontation has reached another critical moment. The question now is whether Monday's negotiations can turn this temporary pause into an actual agreement, or whether American forces will once again be preparing for the attack Donald Trump has for now chosen not to launch.